Before we kick off this episode, I want to say we are not professionals of any kind. We are just two folks who want to talk about our 25 plus years of marriage and Jesus. Thanks for listening.
Hey, babe, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's as we're recording this, it's a Friday. Feels like a Saturday, but I did a lot of stuff early this morning, got some stuff out of the garage. So it's, it's one of those days where it's probably, I think, around noon now, and we've already accomplished a lot for the day. But yeah,
and I'm about to go take a nap because I have to work tonight.
Yeah, terrible. But before we get started, this is episode 2 of our 3-episode talk about our recent trip. But I'm going to ask you in a minute if you have any God winks, and mine is related to the trip. It is about the traffic that we had to deal with on the trip. And one of my worries going on this trip was as we talked about last week, we did 4,000 miles just point to point. And I was so worried that traffic was going to be an issue. And as we're going to hear a little bit today, the only time, well, there's 2 times on our trip that traffic was terrible. One of them was a little bit of traffic going from Baton Rouge to Katy, Texas. There was just a little bit of traffic, and I mean, it took us a while to get through it, and the other time was every mile of Missouri
was under construction.
But it was under construction. It wasn't just terrible traffic. It was like every single mile of Missouri was under construction. So if you live in Missouri, why do y'all do all of your construction at the exact same time on every stretch
literally
of
through
highway?
the whole state, everything. But we didn't see any wrecks. We didn't see any
wrecks.
No.
I was worried that we were going to get caught in a 3-hour wreck or whatever, and that never happened. So to me, that's, if you can't look at the little things in your life and go,
that was God.
That was a God thing, then I don't know what can. But driving 4,000 miles and not getting stuck really once is,
Yep.
What about you?
Honestly, I know I've said this before, but mine would just be my job. Like, I have to work tonight, and I work every Friday, Saturday, Sunday now. But I worked a day shift yesterday, and I feel like that was a reminder of why I work every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Like, I am just made for the night shift for some reason, and I'm still trying to get my sleep schedule adjusted, flipping back and forth. But I love my job, and I love my coworkers, and there's a bonus pay for doing every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night that you can't ever get anywhere else. So I just love that I'm in the stage of life where I can work the schedule and make this money and have the week off to play and do things.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's get into the second part of our trip, if you don't mind.
Welcome to Loving Our 25 to Life. I'm Heather.
And I'm Bo. Together we've been married over 25 years.
Yeah, baby!
And this is where we talk about life, love, and all the adventures we have had along the way.
Oh, wow. Whether we're sharing stories from our marriage or taking you along one of our trips, we're here to reflect on how we've made it this far and where we are headed next.
So grab a seat, settle in, and let's dive into another episode of Loving Our 25 to Life.
Yeah, so we left Candy's house on a Sunday.
Right.
And she and Scott were both telling us about this place in Scott, Louisiana that had boudin sausage, and we needed to stop. And Scott couldn't remember. And this is one thing I do love about Scott. Like, he obsessed over that until we were probably an hour out from their house, and he sent us a message, and he said, I finally found it. So probably, if I know Scott, he had been looking online for an hour trying to think of the name of the place, but he sent us the name of the place that we needed to stop at to try their boudin. And like Bo said last week, we weren't on any kind of schedule or timeline or whatever. So I Googled the place, found the address. We stopped, and I know the waiter probably thought we were nuts because we literally only ordered the boudin balls, and
we ordered a plate of
shrimp and grits to share because we had just eaten breakfast.
Yeah.
So we weren't hungry, but we had to stop and try all that stuff because Scott went through all the trouble of finding it for us. But it was so good.
Worth it. It was so good that in the future, when we take a trip over, down to Baton Rouge again, we're definitely going to have to make a trip over there. It was that good.
It was good.
So yeah, we stopped there. And also what I thought was super cool, and I think you actually made a TikTok about it, or you made a post about it, but literally every billboard was like, you're getting close to the boudin capital of the world. This is the boudin, and every probably 10 or 12 billboards were about a place in this town that sells the best boudin. So it was kind of super cool going there. And so we stopped there, and I'm glad we did, because we stopped there, we ate, and then right when we were leaving Louisiana going into Texas was our first round of kind of semi-bad traffic. So I always, if I'm going from here to the Save-A-Lot, which is 10 miles from my house, I use GPS, because if there's a wreck or something, GPS is going to say, rerouting or whatever. So we were literally going down the road, and all of a sudden the GPS says, to save 30 minutes, go this way. So we took a trip around, we went the back way, and apparently
so did everybody
3 million other people have the same GPS message. So we get on these back roads, and you take this little state road to this state road to this state. So there's like 5 roads, but every time we would get to like on the road, it was like backed up for 80 cars, and then by the time you get on this next road, you're bumper to bumper. So it took us a long time to get through there, but it probably, I think there was a bad wreck that like blocked up all the lanes on the interstate, so we probably would still be sitting in traffic the other way. So I wasn't complaining, and if you know me, I really complain whenever we have to sit in traffic, because I hate traffic.
I will say this though, the way that it took us, we saw some cool things.
Oh yeah.
Like some cool houses and some cool businesses and little bitty road little bitty one stop sign kind of town. So it was.
We went into Texas. So traveling into Texas was on a back road. So instead of seeing like a big "Welcome to Texas" sign on the interstate, we saw like a little "You're now in Texas."
Yep.
But seeing all those back like cattle farms in Texas, and I'm telling you, like, say what you want about Texas, but they do it different there. Their cattle farms there are different than cattle farms anywhere else. And
y'all know me, I was just looking at the cows, because I could look at cows all day. But yep. So getting to the point of our trip where we're heading to Katy, Texas, which probably 80% of going to Texas is to see her brother and her sister-in-law and their family. But a good 20% of it is there's like a concentrated amount of Buc-ee's there. So that's part of it. So we actually, I don't think we even hit the Buc-ee's the second day.
And so we got actually to your brother's house. And I just want to say, I like to think that I love her brother and her sister-in-law and their family. I like spending time with them. I like hanging out with them. But I also feel like I like to think her brother always welcomes our visits, because he is the only male in like an all-female household.
Yeah, so they have 4 girls.
They have triplet girls, and then the youngest girl, she's married and moved out. But so he's lived his whole life around nothing but the female population. So I would like to think when we come to town, he embraces that.
Thankful to have Bo to talk to.
Yeah. So anyway, talk about kind of, we hadn't seen them in a while. So
yeah, well, they had come up here a time or two, but we hadn't been to their house in a few years, and they live like about a minute from a big old Buc-ee's, the Buc-ee's of Katy, Texas. That was where the addiction started. Is about, gosh, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah,
we went to see them, and and Eric was like, this cool gas station up the road. So it's actually my brother's fault, but it's like, there's this cool gas station up the road. We need to go. And he took me to Buc-ee's, and I was just a fan since day one. So, but anyway, we got there that night, and we unloaded and figured out where we were going to stay, and sat down and talked for a little bit. And Bo and I talked about this before. I like to chill sometimes, and sometimes I like to go. But I love that my brother's more on the chill side, because after being in Baton Rouge and, being at the concert and up all day, and then the next day we drove around New Orleans, Belle Chase, and then the next day we drove to Natchez, Mississippi to see my other cousin. Like, I was kind of tired. So when we got to Eric's, it was just kind of a chill. Yeah. What do y'all want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I think we got there, about 3 p.m, maybe. And so we just kind of relaxed, and they have some animals. So we were just kind of playing with the dogs and talking and catching up and stuff. And then we went to eat dinner at a Mexican restaurant, which was really good. Mm-hmm. And we came back home and literally just chilled and hung out. And Bo wanted to go to this place called the Pit Room. And when he showed my brother what it was, he was like, oh, yeah, we're going there. And so you want to talk a little bit about the Pit Room?
No, I like to talk a lot about the Pit Room. This place.
Life-changing, right, babe?
It is life. The food there. I have a buddy that I work with, Michael Holtz. And he and I, we went to Houston. We went on a trip there a couple of years ago for work. And we were looking for places to eat, and people kept recommending this Pit Room. And so, I was like, okay, it's barbecue, which I love barbecue, but it's barbecue. And we went there, me and Michael. It was so good. We went there. So we literally were in Houston for 2 days. So we get there that night, we go to the Pit Room, we eat. It was so life-changing. We got up the next morning and drove there and ate there for breakfast. They have breakfast burritos and stuff. So we literally went there twice. So I said, when we're planning this whole trip, the only 2 things I care about, besides seeing family, the only 2 things I wanted to do was when we go to Colorado, I want to go, see some mountains, and there's a distillery in Colorado I wanted to go to, but I wanted to go to the Pit Room when we went to Houston. And so they were all game. And
this was so important to him, you guys, that he gave up going to see a distillery in Austin, Texas, to be able to go to the Pit Room, because we didn't have time to do both. And so we're like, what do you want to do? You want to go over to Austin and see the distillery, or do you want to go to the Pit Room? He was like, no, we're going to the Pit Room.
Let's do the Pit Room. It is.
Which I will say, it was so good.
Say it.
It was life-changing. I think even Eric said it was life-changing. So
it was so good. I don't want this whole podcast to be about food, but my mouth is watering right now just thinking about that food. It is. They have
the best brisket I've ever. Which it was good. Yep.
Yeah. So we did that, but like Heather said, I think the biggest part was, it's just, not having an agenda. I think we did. We did something every day. Went, did a couple things every day, but it wasn't. I love those trips where you have no plans, and it's not about, we've been to Houston several times before, so it's not this is the only chance we're ever going to get to go to Houston, so we have to see all this stuff. So it wasn't about any of that. It was just about spending time with family, and going back to something I hit on last week, that I love the fact that now you and I can sit and talk about the past and rehash it. I loved watching you and your brother just rehash, because we
did have a discussion about the railroad rock in the face. Yeah, we did discuss that.
But it was just cool that, we were on the hills of Baton Rouge. We were on the hills of
Belle Chase.
You going and revisiting that part of your history. But to kind of sit and just listen to you and your brother talk about, this is how I remember it. And he's like, oh, this is how I remember it. And then y'all coming to common ground on, okay, maybe this is how it was. And so I just thought that was super, super cool. And
because he's 3.5 years older than I am. So I feel like remembers more about our early childhood than I do, just because he was older and experienced more of it though. So yeah, I would say something about an experience, and he'd be like, no, I don't remember it like that. I think it might've been this way. And I'm like, well, maybe, I bet you were older than me, so you would remember better than I would. So that was kind of cool.
And so, and one thing I do love about his family, I am a game player. I love to play games, and I'm trying to get, like, Heather likes to play games, but we don't, like, if nobody's here, we don't really play games or anything. And Joshua, Caleb, they don't play games, so they don't care. Bethany, on the other hand, she's a game player. So when we go visit Bethany, we play all these games, and so Eric's family and his kids are really into that. I say kids, I mean, they're in their 20s, but they're game players. So I love going there, and they always introduce me every time we've been to Eric and Stephanie's house. They've introduced us to, like, some super cool game that I've never heard of, and so I end up having to go buy it. And so anyway, it was just kind of cool that not only do we not have really an agenda, but just knowing that we're still going to have, like, a great time, and just, I mean, honestly, catching up with them and hearing, like, the girls, hearing what's going on in their lives and that kind of stuff. I love, hearing how they're changing and growing and things like that. So,
and then Stephanie drug me to that dance class.
Oh yeah.
We're sitting on the couch one night. She's like, hey, in the morning, you want to go to a dance class? And I said, what kind of dance class? She said, it's a line dancing class. And I'm like, sure, I love to dance. And so I don't know, in my brain, I just had it at like just 3 or 4 people trying to get together and figure out how to line dance. No, it was a dance studio, and there were 2 instructors on the stage, and there were about 20,000 people. I'm exaggerating, but probably literally about 25 or 30 people in the actual class. And so we get there, and they have all these little fancy things on their foot. I'm like, what are those, Stephanie? She goes, oh, here, put these on. And she said, you put them on your sneakers. It helps you with your turns. And I'm like, what have you signed me up for? And then so we go in there, and I start walking toward the back, and Stephanie goes, oh, no, we get up front. I was like, what in the heck are you doing to me? But it was fun because most of the dances were fairly easy to pick up on, and there were 1 or 2 I never could get down, but neither could anybody else. So we were all turning different ways, and even being in the front, like I was never going to see these ladies again. I didn't care, but we did have a good time, and yeah, it was really fun.
Now, in all fairness, I didn't say this at the time, but if Eric had said, hey, I'm into that too, I would have gone, because as we both of us figured out at Bethany's wedding, I can cut a rug pretty well. Just kidding, I can't. But
you wobbled pretty well.
Yeah, I can wobble pretty well. But I would have gone, and if Eric would gone, but I said, Eric, are you going to this? And he goes, heck no. So I didn't have to go. But in all fairness, I would have gone if Eric had gone, but it was just a ladies thing.
My brother's very much men play with trucks, girls play with Barbie dolls kind of fella. So yeah, he was like, he even said when we got back, Stephanie said something about, you should have gone. And he goes, the men don't go to that. And there was actually one man that was there in the class before us. And he was, because I guess the studio is more, you can go like we did just for the exercise of it. But there were some people there that you could tell they were going so they could go to the country bar on Friday night and know how to do these dances and stuff. So it was really cool. I haven't danced like that since Bethany's wedding. So
what was cool fun about that though is when y'all went, I think it was was it like a Friday morning or something, or Thursday morning?
I don't remember.
It wasn't a weekend. It wasn't Saturday, because we would have been watching college football. But what was on TV, maybe it was Saturday.
Here, I can look because I wrote everything down.
Whatever day it was.
For 2 weeks, we really didn't know what day.
Yeah, we didn't really know what day it was. But when y'all were gone, what actually was on TV was Texas. I'll say this about Texas.
It was a Tuesday.
Okay, so it wasn't even close to like a Saturday. So I'll say this about Texas. They put as much emphasis into their high school football as like normal people put into college football or NFL or whatever. So
some of those stadiums were gorgeous.
Yeah, what was on TV, it was like a rerun of the Friday night before game of the Katy, Texas, playing some other team in Texas. And the stadium that they were playing in, which I did learn from Eric later, the stadium is like, it's not for one school, it's for like a district of schools. So like they own the whole like 5 or 6 schools on this one stadium, so they take turns playing in it or whatever. But it's like a college stadium, and the production of like here in Kentucky, when you watch a local high school game on like the KET network or whatever, it's like a guy with a camcorder, but this was like high end production. It was like you were watching a college football game. That's how much emphasis they put into this. And what I think is cool, Eric was telling me, it's a company that runs it, and I think he told me that they use some students to help, and they can use that for like if they're studying for media or whatever, they can do that. But I just thought that was so super cool that they put that much emphasis into it. So we spent the whole time talking football and college football and high school football. So it was time well spent while y'all were off line dancing.
Well, then later that day we went to eat at this sports bar that was really good. Yeah. But it's just funny because this is another thing I love about not having an agenda and then hanging out with Eric and Stephanie, who are they're kind of like fly by the seat of your pants type thing. But we were sitting at lunch, and I had said something about Sephora. Like, I don't go to Sephora a whole lot just because we don't have one real close to here. And I said something about Sephora, and Stephanie's like, "We can go." And so after lunch, did y'all go with us? Y'all went? No, it was Barnes and Noble. We went Barnes and Noble first.
Oh yeah.
And somebody wanted to go to Barnes and Noble, and I was like, I like books, I just don't read. So I love the idea of a book, but I don't read. And what's funny is Bo didn't hear me say that. And then a few minutes later, we were talking about Barnes and Nobles, and Bo said, "Yeah, I love going to bookstores, but I don't read." And I'm like, we're the same person. But so we were pulling into the Barnes and Noble's parking lot, and I looked over, and there was a Sephora, and I was like, "Ooh, can we go to Sephora?" I said, "Ooh, can we go to Sephora?" And Stephanie was like, "Sure." And so Eric and Bo and the girls went into Barnes and Nobles, and Stephanie and I went over to Sephora for a little while, and then we met up with them in Barnes and Nobles. And I walk in, and my brother's in the sci-fi section talking to this lady, and I said, "Stephanie, are you worried about that? Are you worried about that lady taking off with my brother?" And she said, "No, she can have him." But I know he probably stood there for like 20 minutes talking to that lady about sci-fi stuff.
And I love Barnes and Noble because they always have this cool game section they always have games that you can't find anywhere else. So that's where I went to, and I saw a couple games I wanted, but I'd already spent lots of money on other stuff, so I decided not to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, I've said it a couple of times, but the idea that I think we get wrapped up a lot of times, I know Heather and I do, where it's like a vacation has to be going to if it's a place we haven't ever been before, getting the most out of it. So it's like we run ourselves ragged. Like when we go to Hawaii, the 2 times we've been to Hawaii, it's like we've made use of every second of every day because it's like we don't know if and when we'll ever go back. But trips like this are just as important because it's downtime other than driving 4,000 miles. It's downtime the whole time. You're visiting with family, you're reconnecting, so that's why anytime we're down that way, towards Baton Rouge or towards whatever, we try to make a side trip over to Katy, Texas, because, it's a far enough trip where it can never be like just a weekend trip.
Yeah.
But while we're down that way, it's like, we're here. Let's go spend some time. And like Heather said earlier, they're always good about coming up here to visit us in Kentucky. So we try to even it out as much as we can. So,
yeah.
So that's why we were there. And while we were there, I think Heather created a TikTok challenge or whatever, that if we got so many viewers, like we could go to Buc-ee's, and I wouldn't let her go to Buc-ee's until we got that many. But
we went anyway. So I started a TikTok channel for Loving Our 25 to Life.
Right.
And when I started it, we only had like 12 followers or something, and I had just started it for the trip. So if you're interested in seeing like all the boudin signs and all the states we visited and just all the things we did there, so I did a TikTok the night before we were planning to go to Buc-ee's, and I said, my husband said if we get 100 followers by tomorrow, I can go to Buc-ee's. And so I woke up the next morning so disappointed because we only had 45 followers. And
only 45 great followers.
Yes, they were amazing, but just 45. We needed 55 more. And so he decided we could go to Buc-ee's. So we went ahead and went to Buc-ee's, and I made a TikTok there apologizing to our 45 fans that I had lied, but we were at Buc-ee's anyway. And then so like the next day we ended up with like 500 followers because of a Butterfinger video that we did that you guys can go look at. It's kind of it was our Butterfinger scavenger hunt that you guys can go look at there on our TikTok. But something else I wanted to say while we were in Texas is every morning my brother would get up before everybody and go get us donuts. Cause I had made, again, this is I love about Eric and Stephanie. I just mentioned when we got there, I said, "Oh, y'all have a Shipley's down the street. That's amazing." And he goes, "We do?" And Stephanie's like, "Yeah, they just opened up, blah, blah, blah." And so the next morning I woke up and there were Shipley donuts on the counter. And the next morning we woke up and there were Shipley donuts on the counter. And so all 3 mornings we were there, he went and got donuts. And then when we were coming back, or maybe it was the day after we left, we were in Colorado or something. And Stephanie, my sister-in-law, messaged me and she said, "Hey, I need you to come back. Your brother's not gotten me donuts since y'all left." So I said, "Tell that man to go to the store and get you some donuts." But yeah, I'm just blessed with men in my life that will spoil me.
Yeah. So if you're keeping up from last week, we did 0 Buc-ee's last week. And the whole time we were in Katy, we only went to that one Buc-ee's once. So now Buc-ee only has one instance in our lives for our trip. However, one of the days we were there, Eric had teased about going to, I forgot the name of the town, but where Buc-ee's originated. And he said it's the only thing is they're kind of like regular gas stations, but he said there's 6 of them in this one town. And so, but anyway, we ended up not doing that. We went
to the pit room.
Well, no, we did that. So you can enjoy
your life-changing barbecue.
We also, yes, and it was life-changing. It was. But I think most of the time there, we just kind of did nothing and kind of hung out and just really spent. It's one thing when you hear people say like family time, like, but we really did on both of those. Like so far when we were in Baton Rouge and here, it was just 100% family time and much needed family time. You know, sometimes, like I said, we go on these trips and it's all about the destination. It's all about doing something we've never done before, or it's all about the fun of being on a beach or whatever. But we are very deliberate about making trips now where it's about family time and spending time with family. And even if that means going down to, Tennessee to visit our kids or whatever, it's like those times are so super special. So anyway, so we'll talk next week about the third part of our trip, which there's a good bit to talk about there. So it might be a little bit longer, but we'll get to that next week.
And you'll learn how you can leave Katy, Texas and drive for 12 hours and still be in Texas. But we didn't hit one interstate. We took highways the whole way. And Highway 87 is my favorite highway ever. Yeah, it was amazing.
So we'll talk about that next week. So
you got a challenge or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, just really, it was just a, in the times that we all kind of live in, and we always make vacations about, bigger and better doing stuff, that it's important sometimes to just make it about family and make it about family time and
hanging out.
Yeah, hanging out. And
which is hard to do when kids are little. Like I remember when ours were little, you have to like keep them entertained and follow them around and make sure they don't die and get in trouble and drown and whatever. But as you get older, and I have some friends that are struggling through the empty nest, and I do miss our kids being little and I miss hanging out with them, but I just love looking at where they are in life now, and how, all 3 of ours are doing well. And I love the stage that you and I are at now, where we can just get in the car and go without having to worry about a, babysitter, or does this kid want to go eat Mexican, or does this kid want to go eat Italian or whatever. And it's just kind of a bittersweet thing that, I love the babies that they were, and I love the time we had together when they were little, but I also really enjoy seeing how they've accomplished so much in such a short time of life that they've had.
But also, I feel like when our kids were little, even if we did a trip like this where it was the bulk of it was to see family, we had to find a Six Flags, or we had to find something to like entertain the kids. And that's the beauty of it now. And, talking about spending time with them, and, Eric and Stephanie, they're girls that are still around there. It's like, even when they're there, it's not about having to do stuff. They're old enough that they want to sit and just kind of talk about, whatever. So anyway, yeah, that's it. So just taking life slower as we get older, and appreciating the stuff we wouldn't have appreciated even probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So, all right. Well, until next time, love you, babe.
Love you.
That's it for today's episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something to take with you on your own journey.
Remember, love is an adventure. Sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's calm, but it's always worth it. Yes! If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who might need a little inspiration.
And don't forget to follow along for more episodes and vlogs documenting our travels, life lessons, and hopefully plenty of laughs.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep loving life because it is the greatest adventure of all. Bye for now.